All right, everyone. Hope everyone's having a good night and good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening on Zoom platform. My name is Jason Moore, and I'm the Senior Manager of Communications and Customer Service for the city. And tonight, happy to be acting in the role of facilitator for this event. For those of you who are new to Zoom, welcome. It is a brave new world that we've been living in for almost 2 years now. Hopefully, we can get back to the in-person stuff a little sooner than later. But for tonight, we have a couple of ways you can ask questions for those on the Zoom platform. And I see some have already taken advantage of the Q&A feature. That's great. I'll be reading those as we go. If you haven't clicked on the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, you can do so. The box will open up and you'll be able to type in your question and we'll be able to see it and get to it as quickly as we can. The other option is to click the raise hand icon and you can ask the question yourself that way. I only ask that you keep your questions as concise as possible, as we'll do our best to answer as many as we can. That's Zoom 101. Now to the meeting. We're here to specifically discuss Ward 5 and the issues and opportunities for Ward 5. We'll be holding 10 of these ward-specific Zoom meetings over the course of the next month, and we encourage those with issues or opportunities specific to their ward to bring them up during their meeting. This way we can stay focused on the ward at hand as much as possible. Joining us tonight is, of course, Ward 5 Councillor Ed Sleiman, but also live from our nation's capital, we're looking forward to hearing from Windsor Mayor Drew Dilkens. We also have a number of administrative staff on hand to answer any questions the councillor or the mayor might wish to defer. There is an hour slated for this meeting, and if we need it, we'll use it. Or for anyone who may have only a short time to give us, we'll be trying to get the full meeting up on our YouTube channel tomorrow. Lastly, if you should have a question that we don't get to this evening or that comes to mind later, you can always email your councillor, the mayor's office, or 311 afterwards. A reminder, cameras on for all of our administrators if they can, so we can see your smiling faces. So without further delay, we'll ask Councillor Sleiman to activate his microphone and share a few words to get this discussion going. Councillor, please go ahead.
Thanks, Jason. Hello, everyone. I was really hoping that we could have in-person meetings so we could at least interact face-to-face. This is probably the best meeting ever. It's just face-to-face meeting. But because of the pandemic and the ongoing restriction, this was not possible. I hope the next ward meeting will be in person. Let me start by thanking you for taking the time to participate in this evening. The purpose of this meeting is to give you an opportunity to bring forward ideas and concerns with regard to our ward and our city. Even though we have to deal with the effect of the pandemic, the city continue moving forward, building our infrastructures, parks, and amenities in the city of Windsor, specifically in Ward 5. Over $2 million has been allocated in 2020 for the new accessible washroom and rooftop lookout at the Alexander Park, and also the pavilion and the picnic tables. This is a great addition to the playground that was installed just a couple of years ago. Garry Dugal Park in Fort City received upgrade for the gazebo in a new concrete floor, a new electrical wiring and outlet for the community barbecues and special events. 2 new shade sails with concrete pads were also added at Garry Dugal Park. George Park, it's the newest of all the park, and it's also very small, but now it's officially open and include a new playground, walking pathways, basketball court, a shelter with lighting, picnic tables, benches, and park lighting. By the way, I drive by the park daily on my way home, and it is always busy with residents waiting to play in the basketball court or simply walk the trail above the reservoir. This simple recreational trail has been well received and has been used extensively by older adults and those with mobility issues. Work was recently completed at the Francois Court Park to improve drainage. This park is small, but well suited for this area. Mayfair Park Robert Park and Francois Court Park will each be getting a new playground equipment, hopefully very soon. I continue to receive a large number of calls from residents along McDonald Park to add a walking trail. Young families and retirees are becoming very visible in this area. I'm happy to say that we have seen other capital expenditure in our ward this past year, including sanitary sewer and paving on Strabane, rehabilitation of the west side of Erskine, road and sewer rehabilitation on Bernard from Guy to Tecumseh, curb replacement project, and surfacing of our roads from Ontario to the track. The addition of 9 new transit shelters and 5 new concrete pads to make bus stop fully accessible. That's a great addition, I can tell you. I would also like to mention the Ford City Community Improvement Plan, which was approved several years ago, has attracted many investors to our area and helped residents invest in their own properties. It is our goal to encourage investment aimed at revitalizing the neighborhood. Before we go any further, I would like to thank Mayor Durkin, our CEO, Jason Reiner, who, by the way, is new to Windsor, as well as our wonderful members of the administration who are here this evening to help us actually respond to your question. I would also like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with you, building a safe and prosperous community for our children and the grandchildren. I look forward to question and welcome you all to email me if you have any question or you're looking for something specific. Just please email me at any time. I would be more than happy to actually to respond to you, to sit with you if I have to. At this time, I would like to introduce our Mayor, Drew Delkin, to say a few words. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Sleiman. Good evening, everyone. I'm really delighted to be here, and I see on my screen so many members of our administration. It's the Brady Bunch of city administration on the screen, but they're all doing a great job. And as we get to the 20th month, or working very closely to the 20th month of this pandemic, it has been a tough slog for everybody on the call and every resident in the city. And I think earlier today, we certainly received good news that there looks like there's some hope that the border is going to be open early in November. And I know that means good things for a lot of people who are waiting to reunite with families and connect with loved ones that they've been separated from for the better part of 20 months. So I feel like we are in some ways turning a corner with the pandemic. Our vaccination rates are going up. There's some hope on the horizon to reconnect with families, and people are doing their part. And for that, I sincerely thank you. This has not been easy for any of you on the call, and I recognize and acknowledge that. And I want to just thank everyone for taking the time to log in today. I know this is this sort of unique format. We changed it a little bit from last year now that Zoom is mainstream. And we're comfortable logging in and clicking a button and seeing everyone's face. It's a little different than being on the phone, but a little more personal as well. And at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to any questions or comments that you may have, but I'm also really excited about the direction the city is going in. I'm excited about the way that we've been handling our finances during the pandemic, how we've been investing in our capital infrastructure. You know, we have a $1.6 billion capital plan on the city front, a full $170 million this year, the majority of which is going to roads and sewers and doing all of the things that you expect us to do, but also improving on our quality of life. And when I think of quality of life in the city of Windsor, I am delighted about what's happening in Ford City. I'm delighted about the organic growth that is happening there and how people, you know, the spirit of Ford City, the spirit of Drouillard Road was always there, but it is on full display right now. And people stepping in saying, I want to own this vacant building. I want to renovate this building. And I've got an idea that I know will be successful. And that entrepreneurial spirit is on full display. And I'm just so proud of each and every one of the folks who have taken the risk, who have invested their money, who see a bright future in that particular area, because it is such a proud and historic area of our city. It deserves to shine even more tomorrow than it is today. And I think of, and I go back to Walkerville and Henry and Hiram Walker and the construction of the distillery and how Ford City was built directly adjacent to Walkerville because Hiram Walker had paid for all of those services. that Henry Ford and Gordon McGregor were able to tap into quite seamlessly and build the first Ford factory in all of Canada right here in Windsor, Ontario. But of course, it was known then as Ford City. And so we want to bring that energy to life. And you see what we're doing on theming and districting in Walkerville. Well, guess what? Ford City, you are on the list. You are high on the list for more investment. We want to see great things happen there because there is so much authenticity in Ford City. The right role for the city to play is to bring all of those disparate pieces together, help them shine. And that's not the only area of the city. There are so many other great spots in this community that deserve to shine even more. We're going to bring them all to life. And so, Councillor Sleiman, thank you for your leadership during the past, well, ever since you've been elected, but certainly the past 20 months. I know it's been a challenge for every member of council, and he is someone that I kind of joke, but it's really not a joke, and members of administration will attest to the fact that Ed Sleiman's car is in the parking lot most often before I arrive in the morning and often there after I leave. At the end of the day, this is one of the hardest working councillors on city council. He puts his heart and soul into making Ward 5 the best place that it can be. And I know he is interested in responding, as am I, to all of the questions, concerns that you have here today. And let's see if we can get some answers and help you be really proud of this city, because each and every one of us, whether you're the mayor, a city councillor, and a city employee, or whether you're a resident in this city, we are all ambassadors for this community. And we need to tell the story that is so strong and so rich and so important so that others see this community as a great place to live, to work, to invest, and to grow. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Councillor Sleiman, and thanks for the opportunity to talk tonight.
Thanks, Drew. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that comment, for sure. Jason, is anyone on the list to ask question? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Councillor. And again, I'll reiterate the two ways to get through to us if you can. One is to go into the Q&A question and answer section and write your question. Our staff won't be responding likely by writing. They would prefer to speak to you, I'm sure, if sent to the question is sent to them by the councillor. But the other way is to raise the hand function, and I believe that's in the more section if you haven't found it yet. But those are our two ways to get involved. So I'll take one of the questions right now for you, Councillor. What is the plan to address parking along Chandler and Meldrum after the 28 new homes are built? Most have minimum parking available, and when Ford test truck is busy, there are too many people using the side streets. So again, just what is the plan to address parking along Chandler and Meldrum after the 28 new homes are built in that area?
The 28 homes, they are going to be built not on Chandler, but on Meldrum. And every house will have their own parking. That's number one. We want to be sure that we have sufficient parking. And as far as people park on the street, it'll be like everybody else. So, but definitely there will be enough parking for everyone, and everyone will be parking on their own property.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor. Hope that answers your question. And again, anybody who wants to follow up afterwards with other questions, go ahead. We're here for a while. Another question, this comes from Don. This has to do with the 1800 block of Bernard and flooded backyards. There is a sewer line running the length of the block. Some houses have sewer grates at the back of their property. However, they don't seem to be collecting the water, hence flooding the yards. I've once been told it was never connected at the main trunk, or it could have collapsed. How and when can this be rectified? So kind of a lengthy question there about sewers. Did you get that?
Like actually we're spending a lot of money actually on our infrastructure to minimize the flooding everywhere. But I can tell you, I think Chris, he may have an answer for it. Chris and Fong, if you wish to jump in and give us your ideas.
Sure, I can start. Thanks, Councillor. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everybody, like the mayor said, like Brady Bunch of Squares here. As I'm new, I'm going to pass it over to Fong, I believe, who has some answers, but I know I can speak to sewers with respect to running in backyards in the length of the lot and understanding if they're owned by the city or not. And maybe Fong has some insight in terms of how those are approached in that block anyways. Fong, if you can help me out here.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Backyard flooding is definitely a challenge. A lot of these houses are well-established neighborhood, and they are fairly well locked in terms of drainage. The only way that you can actually relieve the drainage is actually by a backyard drain. Okay, and I know it's sometimes not an easy task, because that's actually it's a private project that you have to tap into. If there's a storm sewer in the front, you have to provide your own drainage. The city can't really relieve that in the process, but we can certainly recommend that you would slope it toward so you have less ponding problem in the backyard. But as far as drainage in the backyard itself, there is no program to actually tap into the backyard for you. So that's a private connection you have to make.
Yeah, so just to follow up with that, Councillor, and Fong, maybe you can step in here and confirm for me then. I guess it is more along the lines. On Bernard Street, the storm sewers are in the main street itself, in the road, in the front of the homes on Bernard, as far as you know anyways?
Off of my memory, yes.
Okay, so that's where we provide the infrastructure for residents to connect to. And as Fong noted, in those older developments, you know, people back in the day would put their drains in the backyard and maybe have an agreement together to take care of that. But over time, those agreements fall apart. And as Fong noted, the best way is to get that water from your backyard to the infrastructure in the front of the street, which we provide to allow you to connect to. So I hope that answers that a little bit.
All right, thank you very much, both of you. Flooding, never an easy topic, but one that comes up a lot. We're actually going to take our first question from someone who wants to chime in instead of have me read their question. If we could bring Doris up on the screen and activate Doris's microphone. Have we got Doris?
Ask her to unmute herself.
Doris, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
Welcome.
I actually have a couple or three questions, but the first one is, would it be possible to adjust the 2 traffic lights that are on Seminole at the Ford test track so that they could be turned into trip lights? Right now, they constantly cycle whether there's traffic or not, and all night long. That would also help with the issue of people running the red light at Central, because their ultimate goal is to make those other 2 lights green. So they race through that light at Central. It's my and my husband's opinion. We've lived here, well, he's lived here since he's 4 years old and he's 66. If those 2 lights could be trip lights, it might solve 2 problems.
Okay, let's pause right there for a second, Doris, and see if we can get an answer on that one. Councillor, did you get that question? Your mic is muted, Councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. One of the things I know, I've been talking to traffic engineering to see what the best way of synchronizing the lights, so you don't have to stop in, unnecessarily, and you don't have to speed up just to get the next light. And I think Shauna is very familiar with that system. Shauna, if you want to add something to it.
Yes, Councillor, and hello to the resident. Yes, you're absolutely right. Those lights do cycle. There's no detection at those currently. We are just finishing up a tender, a request for proposal on some very brand new technology that is going to be implemented within the city shortly. And those any lights that are currently without detection are at the top of our list for detection moving forward as soon as we get that contract signed and the new technology in-house.
Okay, great, thank you. Another issue that I'd like to address is some more monitoring of the bike lanes. We've spent taxpayer money on building bicycle lanes. We took a lane away from automobile traffic to create the bicycle lanes. And 99% of the time, the bicycles are on the sidewalk anyway. I believe there should be some monitoring done and maybe some publicity to encourage these bicycle riders to get into those lanes that we provided for them and stop being an impediment to people who are pedestrians on sidewalks. Currently, if I'm on my sidewalk, those bicycles are so quiet. If I step the wrong way without looking, I could get hit. That's how often the bicycles are on the sidewalks. And I'm at the 1400 block of George Avenue. And yes, there's no bike lanes here, but they should be on the street and not on the sidewalk.
Doris, you are absolutely right. They should be on the street, not on the sidewalk. And I think that I turned the question to the police department, maybe either Dan or possibly Staff Sergeant Ed. You want to add to it?
Sure, thanks, Councillor. Yeah, Ms. Willis, you know, I appreciate your concern and bring that to our attention, and I'll make sure our traffic and our patrol people in that area are aware of that problem. I don't think they are yet. So it's just a matter of us kind of providing some additional, you know, patrol support in that area, and just kind of, you know, at first educating, you know, the public, and then transitioning to a, you know, an enforcement sort of piece. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention, and I'll pass that along to our traffic unit.
All right, Doris, this is number 3. No one's ever gotten 3 questions in a row before. Do you have one more question, Doris?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fire away.
This question is in concern for the large new, I call it a pavilion. I'm not sure what you're calling it. The big new thing you're talking about building at the river. It looks all white, the pictures of it. But it looks like in pictures that it's going to have excessive skylighting. Light pollution is already a serious issue, and we've already got a bright enough city. And I really would like to see if it's possible when you build this to have full cutoff lighting underneath it and around it, so that we're not shining needless light up into the sky. Astronomy is a hobby of ours, and obviously in Windsor, you can't even do that, but there's no need of making the situation worse than what already exists.
Okay, so the question there, basically, what kind of skylight is this going to be when it gets to us? But it's a ways away yet. Councillor?
I think I'll turn this question here possibly to Jeff from traffic engineering. And I know for sure that almost any structure we do, the cutoff lighting is a must, and it's a mandatory, not to shine on the neighbors, not to shine on the street and blind the drivers. That's number one. I think it'll be part of the design, but again, I ask our city engineer and Jeff, if you're here, if you can respond to it, please.
If you don't mind, Councillor, I think I'd referred that question to possibly France or Ray. They're more directly involved with that project, I believe.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Maybe I'll start. I don't know, France, if you want to add, but thank you for the comment, and good evening, everyone. So basically, the Festival Plaza, the new canopy, is actually in its early stages. This is sort of the reveal. We still wanted to do public consultation, get everyone's comments. So by no means is this a final design. We just want to present it to council, and the next phase will include public consultation. So we welcome your comments as well as everyone else's when we begin that process to consult with the public. So thank you for bringing that forward.
All right, thank you very much, guys. And I'll just say for the future, I'm seeing the questions pile up, so I have to move along. I should probably hold people to one question if that's possible. We'll take one from the written in version again. I'd like to have Meldrum Road improved from Ypres Ave to Grand Maris. We need sidewalks and improved streetlights. There are a lot of children who use the street to walk to school north of Tecumseh Road in Meldrum. There frequently are seniors in wheelchairs and electric scooters who use the road also. And could you do something to work on traffic on Ypres?
Meldrum Road, actually, all the way from Tecumseh to Ypres, we have been really in discussion with the administration, see how we were going to put it in the budget so we could work on it. There is a lot of competing priority. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be looking at it, we will, but also we have a lot of other infrastructure that needs some attention as well. And I recall, I think a couple of times I was driving with our CEO and he pointed out to me saying there was no sidewalk, there was no curb and gutter. And the city is aware of it, and we'll definitely do our best to put it on the list for future rehabilitation.
All right, thank you very much, Councillor. We have a question we'll take from the people that want to be on screen. Dawn Marcotte is here. So if we could bring Dawn in, and Dawn can turn her microphone on.
Got it. Yeah, I had the question regarding the sewers in the backyard.
Ah,
Okay. The people around here did not privately install that. That was put in when these houses were built. So why had it not been connected? And why would it have to be privately dealt with if we want to get that flooding problem under control?
do we want to go with the councillor or maybe Chris to explain that maybe this is one that has to go offline? And
Councillor, do you want me to
discuss in
take that,
depth?
Councillor?
I think I'll ask our city engineer to respond on it.
Okay. Hi, Don. Nice to hear from you. Yeah, my understanding is that although you may not have put that sewer in, that sewer is not town property at this point. So it's public property, or it's private property between the homeowners that are there. So as a result of that, the onus then becomes the homeowners to take care of that. The infrastructure in the road is the infrastructure the town provides to vacate the stormwater from the area. So yeah, I've seen that in the past where those got put in as part of a development and maybe never taken over by the city or never given to the city. It was kind of left that way. And as a result, I've seen this very thing many times where decades down the road, they become blocked, clogged, broken, and then the residents are left to band together and figure out a solution, either together or individually, as Fong noted, to take that water from your backyard and then bring it to the infrastructure in the front of the house that we provide.
I just want to add, and again, I do want to take this offline. Don, if you don't mind, maybe just find me an email, and then I can certainly, we'll try our best to assist you as best as I can. How's that?
All right, thank you both. Our next question comes from Connie. She says the pathways, especially in Alexander Park, are beautiful, but as the goose population increases into the fall and winter, the pathways become littered with goose droppings, which make it very unpleasant for walking. I've seen the city workers clean up occasionally, but at this time of year, I would request that a regular cleanup be adopted. Is there any way we can increase the cleanup of pathways? That's what she's asking.
Actually, anytime we see a site like this dirty and a lot of litters, I would encourage the residents not just to call me directly, but also to call 311 and also to call me and let me know. Send me an email so we can at least follow up on it and do the right things to clean the park. Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Question, next one comes from Jen. How can, sorry, the blocks, oh, I'm losing my screen here. Somebody's moving it along. The blocks north of us are beautiful. I'm not sure where Jen is talking about, somewhere in the Chrysler area. She says the sidewalks aren't well lit, so their buses and citizens would appreciate not walking along the side of a busy road, especially while Chrysler is in mid-shift. So I'm sorry, the questions are a little bit incomplete. So if you can maybe come back in with another question in a few minutes, we'll try and get to that. Safety issue at Chandler and Malloy. Needs a four-way stop sign for school reasons.
As far as the four-way stop sign, I know administration, especially traffic engineering, I think Jeff is here to respond to that question. One thing I understand is we can't put four-way stop sign at every corner. I am not saying every corner, but basically where places where it's not needed. And often it do more damage than saving people's lives. So Jeff, would you please give us your opinion on that?
Thank you, Councillor. Certainly, we would review any requests that we do receive. The best way to let us know about locations like that is to call 311. I don't know offhand if we have done a review for this specific intersection recently, but we can certainly do a new review if one hasn't already been done.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, our next question. Are there plans to repave the 1400 block of Albert? Lots of road questions.
Did you say the question? Do we have to research?
No, the question is, are there plans to repave the 1400 block of Albert?
Well, I asked our city engineer to basically to see with the condition of the road, but definitely I would be looking at it myself to see if it's really, if not, if it's needed. We want to be sure that it's in good shape. That's number one. Yeah, we'll definitely follow up on it.
All right. We've got a question online here. We'll go to Randy if that's okay. Randy, if you can turn on your mic and go ahead.
Yes, good evening, everyone. In respect to the bike lanes, I live on Paulette Road, approximately a block and a half off of Tecumseh Road. And ever since the bike lanes have gone in, like the previous caller spoke of, most of the bicyclists still stay on the sidewalk. And I understand that Paulette is not a normal class residential street. It's a different class because of the traffic flow. But again, I'm a block and a half off Tecumseh Road, and at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the traffic is backed up in front of my house that I can't get out of my driveway. Is there anything we can do to look into that?
I would actually direct the question here possibly to traffic engineering and possibly as well John Ravel, if you can help us with this. When the problem here is sometimes often the traffic build up. Are you familiar with that area? Can we do anything kind of to alleviate the problem it's having there?
Yeah, so I'll invite Jeff to jump in if he's got some additional comments, but we're aware of several problem areas across the city. And what we're looking at doing is a comprehensive traffic study for the entire city so that we can better understand what's going on and to help alleviate these types of issues.
Yeah, and basically I would encourage the caller actually to send us email with the problem instead of waiting until we have a ward meeting or until we have some other meeting. If you see the problem there, email me and email it to also to building department, traffic engineering, and then we would respond to you immediately.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Next question is about helicopters. Thank you for your help with our helicopter problem. It was horribly aggravating, but appears to be solved. Thank you. Now, if you could help with the noise of some cars and motorbikes. Popular one too. Councillor?
Well, about the helicopter, I know it was brought up a couple times at the council meeting, and I believe even we reached to our MPs and MPP to see what we can do, because the city can't regulate helicopter or airplane that making noise or even hovering over houses. So we reached for the federal government, try to help us in a situation like this.
Councillor, as far as the noise goes, we're experiencing that same sort of complaint in other wards, and basically just got to make us aware of the locations. There's we have a road watch tab through our website or Windsor Police website. I can throw it on the chat group here, and just helps us become aware if there's a number of complaints in the same area. We have there's bylaws and Highway Traffic Act legislation that helps us sort of enforce those particular laws as it relates to excessive noise. So it's just a matter of making us aware of it, and we'll look into it. So I will throw that I'll throw that link in the chat group right now.
Okay, Thanks, Dan.
All right, our next question, Councillor, is back to someone who's going to chime in for it. And I think it's Jen, who I may have misread part of your question before, so I appreciate you contacting us this way as well. Go ahead and start your mic.
That's okay. I appreciate you guys doing this. This is a great forum for people to reach out. Just my question was also similar to the one that was already asked in regards to sidewalks and sewer work being done on Meldrum or Megan south of Ypres. And then I was responded to by a couple members, which was fantastic. I was just inquiring, saying that it's local. Ooh, I think Fong said local. Oh, sorry, what was the word that you used?
Local improvement, yes.
Right. So how is there any way to propose that or request that or something to be looked into? I mean, we do have a lot of kids taking their buses and residents walking along a busy road, especially when Chrysler is doing their shift change. It's incredibly busy through the stop signs. There's often accidents because usually the stop signs are every other block. But needless to say, sidewalks would be greatly, and well-lit sidewalks would be greatly appreciated.
For traffic, I'm not sure if we should also direct the question to John Ravel on that. Chris, do you have any idea how to?
Yeah, I think
Hi,
Councillor France, I think France can help out here a little bit.
Yes,
Okay,
Councillor, good evening. So the local improvement process is something that you can, there's information available on the website on how to proceed. But basically it's the residents' responsibility to collect signatures. And I think it's 60% of the residents that sign the signature in order to make that a successful petition. But I can provide some contact information for you to reach out to that can guide you through the process.
Jen,
Thanks.
if I can add, and again, I know the area, but I don't know it well. You mentioned a lot of pedestrian. There might be a possibility of a pedestrian generator, and maybe France can chime in on that, and that's also France area.
Yeah, so that pedestrian generator program is usually around schools. So I'm not sure exactly where you are. But again, I can provide, I'm not sure if you want to do that on the chat. Jason, is that where I should provide my contact information?
You know what? The best way to do it is, so everybody can remember this, is you contact 311. That's the easiest, right? Email 311@citywindsor.ca and they'll hook you up.
Jason, can I just chime in for a sec, Councillor, if I can? I think maybe we can start. I know a lot of questions in these, roads. When's my roads getting done? When are the sewers getting done? There's some really good things on our website. It's the city and the investment map that we have, and that investment map takes you through. You can click on roads, sidewalks, parks and facilities, and it takes you through the past years planned and then future investments, and it highlights the wards. You can select by ward, you can select by it'll highlight the road, highlight the sidewalk. You click on it, it gives you the project, it gives you some detail about the project, it gives you the forecast of when that is. So it's some, when my road is getting done type thing. You can see if it's actually planned to be done or not that way. So it's some really good information on our website.
Very good, thank you. We have another question here from Steve. He says, small opportunity theft seems to be on the rise in our area. I organize communication with our block on Leonard Road, and it's becoming an increasing concern that our security cameras trip on people moving through our backyards looking for something to steal, or more regularly working their way up and down the street trying to get into parked cars. Is this on the city's radar, and is there any discussion in place on how to curb this behavior?
One of the things I know, Leonard have no lighting whatsoever at all, and I get a lot of complaint about it. But in the meantime, on the west side and different parts of Windsor, we have a lot of streets have no lighting, and sometimes they say it's a safety issue. That's number one. But most people right now, they have cameras in the back or in the front, and they have a lot of lighting that, like a motion detector and so on. And hopefully it'll help. Is there any way of, if there is any problem, I think the best way to handle it is just reach for the police and tell them what's happening. Some people walk in your backyard, you are not sure what they are doing. Just be sure that they are not just your neighbors walking there. Just want to be sure those people, they are not being invited to walk in that area. Thank you.
Terrific, thank you. Our next question comes from Carleen. Is there a plan to rehab the Ford Test Track park surface? There are lots of big cracks that reduce its usability, make it dangerous for those with reduced mobility and those on wheels. It's a wonderful, much loved park with a high volume of use. Seems like it would benefit from its repair. Are there plans for a splash pad as well? So 2 questions. Are we going to fix the Ford Test Track surface and put a splash pad in as well?
I think I will turn the question here to our CEO, Jason Reiner. I know him and I, we talked about it. Him and I, we drove actually at the Ford Test Track in different parts of Windsor. We looked at different areas, what has to be done. Jason, can you give us your ideas on that? When do you think, like right now, there's no immediate problem there. I know sometimes concrete would shift and it's become tipping hazard, but administration has been taking care of it. That's number one. But we want to say, when is the major facelift for the Ford Test Track?
Thanks, Councillor Sleiman, and very good evening to everyone. I'm Jason Rayner, the Chief Administrative Officer. I've been here about 6 months, so I don't know, Councillor, if I'm allowed to continue to say that I'm new, but I'm going to continue to ride that honeymoon phase as long as possible. It's a great question, and one that I'm hoping that in a number of areas of the city, we can actually engage with the communities to better understand what we can do with some of these places that are just primed for revitalization. But I'll look to the team who might have more details on specific timing, if there is any. I'd love to have some help from the Lifeline if there is someone who can assist.
Great. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, Jason, and thank you, Councillor Sleiman. With respect to both of the questions that Carleen's asking, first and foremost, the trail at Ford Test Track is certainly something that is slated to be replaced. It's part of our ongoing trail assessment program, and the replacement falls under the asset management plan. So when the determination is made that it requires replacement and the capital funding is available, we will replace it. We do continue to inspect and do ongoing maintenance repairs. And as Councillor Sleiman said, it is still in overall good condition. With respect to a splash pad at Ford Test Track, basically this part of Ward 5 is very lucky that there are 2 splash pads that overlap this area. There is one just to the northwest at Garry Dugal Park that provides access to the community as well. There is also another splash pad just a couple blocks to the east at Atkinson Community Center. So certainly there's coverage overall with this area. So at this time, per the Parks Master Plan, there would not be funding or the development of a splash pad at Ford Test Track, but certainly, as Mr. Rayner said, we always continue to look for community involvement and consultation to see what great park amenities can be included in the future.
Okay, thanks, Jason. And
now that is a phone a friend that worked for our CAO. Well done. Is that show even on anymore? I don't think so. Our next question comes from Connie. Seminole Street and some streets running off of it were paved and repaired this summer. Erskine Street was the only one not included in this upgrade. What was the reason for this, and when can Erskine get paved and upgraded?
Okay. Erskine, if I may, if you look at Strabane, we could say east of Strabane or west of Strabane. And west of Strabane on Erskine, we just spent almost $100,000 try to refurbish that section to make it more drivable, put a sidewalk on it, and it looks great. Now, on the east side of Strabane, I have been talking to administration actually to see when can we do it. I know the street really is in bad shape, no question about it. The street haven't been done possibly in maybe it could be 100 years or so. So administration are looking into it, and when the funding become available, I'm just hoping that actually Chris myself and our CEO to come up to a plan that will be to rehab that street. That it doesn't need any sewers, but I understand it. All what it needs is just kind of surfacing, and hopefully it will be done soon.
Thank you, Councillor. Our next question comes from Pat, maybe one that police will have to give a process on or something, but it says, hello, Councillor. I recently moved to George Avenue from Francois. My parents still live in the 1500 block of Francois. There's one particular house that constantly has a police presence there. This house is less than a block from David Maxwell, lots of children in the area. I know there have been plenty of complaints about this house, but what can be done about it? So that's in the 1500 block of Francois. What to do when you have a house like this?
Yeah, and I'll take that question, Jason. Thanks. It's all about just communicating with our community partners, right? So if you're suspicious of a residence in a particular area, or you have concerns, or you have some questions, you can always call the police. You know, obviously we have to handle priority calls as they come in, but you know, we'll definitely get out and speak to you, or we could handle it on the phone in terms of, you know, obviously there's certain information we can't reveal, you know, in regards to specifics as it relates to, you know, who lives there and what's going on. But, you know, if somebody's got a concern about their children and there's a particular house they're concerned about, you know, the police might be able to, you know, put their mind at ease a little bit just through a conversation. So, you know, never hesitate to call us. And like I said, you know, we have to handle priorities as they come in, but that's definitely something we put on our list to take care of that day and get out and speak to you, or, you know, whether it's you call our 258 number, we can talk to you on the phone and maybe answer your questions that way. So, but again, if you see something suspicious, always call. We'll try and get out there as soon as we can and look into it.
Terrific, thank you. We're actually getting down in our questions, which is good. Means we're answering many. And this question comes from Richard. He mentions the 1700 block of Chandler Road. There's a lot of parking late at night, and he wondered if there's not a bylaw starting at 11 for no entry into a parking lot. Does that ring a bell to anyone? 1780 Chandler Road?
Jason, are they talking about private parking lot or city parking lot?
That's a good question. There's no specification. It just says 1780 Chandler.
I'm just wondering if actually Chris have any idea on it, or Fong about the parking restriction. Not to my knowledge, not after 11.
Councillor, I believe that's about the parking lot at Ford Test Track Park behind that address.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Maybe I can provide a little bit of feedback on this. So we have had within a number of our parks over the course of the summer and during COVID, some instances where people have been utilizing some of the parking lots sort of after hours for activities, but it is something we continue to monitor, working with both traffic enforcement, with Windsor Police, and with their own bylaw to try to ensure that we curb. But there is a bylaw that does prohibit people from being in the parks past 11 p.m. So certainly anytime the public sees us, we encourage them to please contact us so that we know that this is a specific area that we have to focus a little greater attention on trying to resolve those problems.
Terrific, thank you. Got a couple of comments here. Awesome, guys. Thanks for the information. Another one from Cheryl. Excellent info just given. Thank you very much. One more question here. I know council requested a report on alley standards during a council meeting. Just wondering when that report will come back. A report on alley standards.
I believe we requested administration for a report on alley standard, and I know they are working on it right now. But in the meantime, we have been dealing with individual alleys and see how we're going to handle it. There is nothing concrete, and a lot of people sometimes they want to close the alley, even though the alley had been used by the community. The alley is nice and clean. For example, they had one last night. We dealt with an alley, and I don't want to name the street, but definitely it's supposed to be a beautiful alley. The neighbors take pride of it. You can't even find a weed on it. So we have to deal with every alley, with every application at its own merit, and see how we're going to do with it, whether the alley needs to be closed or we have to keep it open.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Next question. Can Ypres Park get a splash pad? Atkinson is across Tecumseh Road. That's from Cheryl.
Ypres Park. You're talking about McDonald Park?
Not sure.
Maybe Councillor, if you don't mind, I think maybe Cheryl might be speaking of the former Ypres, now Somme Park. So certainly that's a very nice park that just received a great new playground and tennis court within the last couple of years. Basically, I think, again, because of the splash pad placement within Ward 5 and also because of the nature of Ypres, now Somme Park being a neighborhood park, that a splash pad wouldn't be something that would normally be suited for that park, but certainly we always continue to look for other potential park amenities that could go into that park, and certainly looking forward to, although it's not in your ward, Councillor Sleiman, in very nearby Fountain Blue Park and just in Ward 8, there'll be a new splash pad being built later this spring, so certainly it helps to service that overall area.
James, is it often actually the park and recreation, they just don't go by ward, they go by areas. If a splash pad in Ward 6 or Ward 8 and other residents from a different ward, they are more than welcome to use it if it's close to their place where they live, isn't it?
Certainly, absolutely, Councillor, you're correct. We don't look at the ward boundaries when we look at how the park amenities fall and the radiuses that they cover. We do look at geographical boundaries such as, train tracks or the expressway, or where there's a, body of water or lake that would prevent access. But certainly, as long as people have the means to cross a street with a proper intersection, that a ward boundary doesn't take into account the overall park amenities and in the area that they cover.
Okay, that's a great, James. Thank you so much.
Well, very good. The Zoom platform offers the opportunity to conduct poll questions, and I've been remiss in putting any on. So I'm going to hope to do that right now and give it a try anyway. You should see a question pop up, Anna, if you can take care of that on the screen, and I'll read out the poll aloud if we see it. It'll give us the opportunity to answer the questions ourselves if it comes up, which I'm not seeing, which is probably why I didn't start a poll. There, oh no. All right, here's the poll question. Which format of ward meetings have you enjoyed the most? In person, telephone, Zoom? Those are our questions. And they're rolling in quickly here. We'll have answers in seconds because of this fantastic format. All right, we're up to 22%. Give it one more minute, meaning just a few seconds. All right, I'm seeing in-person meetings, 46%, Zoom, 54%, and sadly, no one liked our telephone town halls last year. It's a good thing we're not doing that again. I hope everybody enjoyed that poll question. This is more like a game show than anything now. All right, back to the questions here as we quickly head toward the 7 o'clock hour. Thank you for dealing with my previous issues, but I'm wondering if the 3 blocks of Aubin south of Seminole are slated for resurfacing. 3 blocks of Aubin south of Seminole. Do we know if those are?
I think I leave it actually to our city engineer. He mentioned the website where you can check almost every ward, not every ward, every street, if it's coming or it's going to be on the list or it's not on the list. Chris?
No, yeah, Councillor. No, Aubin. I've got Aubin, Seminole to Metcalfe, Alice to Guy, Seminole to Alice in 2022 and 2023 for sewer and road rehab. So it is on the list. It's just 2023, and then one section from Alice to Joseph, 2022.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Our next question comes from Susan. There are 2 houses on Francois Court repeatedly not cutting grass or cutting back weeds in front of or in the back of their home. We are once again having some rat and skunk problems on our block. The houses are unsightly. Is there anything that can be done about repeat offenders?
Is anyone from the bylaw enforcement here?
Well, good evening, Councillor and everyone. It's Craig Robertson over at the licensing department. I'm here representing bylaw enforcement. So sure, the best way to deal with our repeat offenders is so that we can track them is, like Jason has already mentioned, to call 311. We do have an officer assigned each municipal ward, so you do have a specific officer that's assigned to your ward that deals with all of your bylaw issues. So it could already be in our system. I'll certainly make sure that somebody takes a swing over to Francois Court, but the best way to track our repeat offenders, call 311 so it can be tracked. We do have a mechanism in place where we do charge repeat offender fees if we don't obtain voluntary compliance. So again, call 311 and we'll make sure that we get out there to take care of that, and our repeat offenders are dealt with accordingly. Sorry for the background noise. I ran into some construction here at City Hall downstairs here. So take care and have a good evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Craig.
Craig, about repeat offenders, did we have some kind, not a bylaw, but I think we changed the rules a little bit just to make it kind of harsher on the repeat offenders?
Sure. So everybody gets their first dirty yard free. After that, what we do is we go out, write the order, try to gain compliance. If we have to act on non-compliant matters by getting a contractor out there, using any city resources to conduct those cleanups, we penalize those property owners by tacking on a reinspection fee to cover our costs and to penalize those owners. We also have the capability of writing your Part 1 ticket, which is a nominal fee for non-compliance to that bylaw. But yeah, those were recent changes that were made over the past couple of years.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.
Jason? Right, and our last question, Councillor, if you know or anyone knows, when will council meetings be returning to chambers? Everybody wants them.
When they regular council meeting face to face, you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see it, but right now we don't want to take chances in getting the infection spreading everywhere. We just have to be really careful. I really don't know when it's going to be. A couple of times I know our mayor said we got to do it as soon as we can. And when we set up a date, and here the infection rates throughout Ontario is keep on going up. So right now, we really have no idea when it's going to resume.
Fair enough. Well, I'll wrap it up there. The last couple of comments that came in were thank you for the wonderful informative dialogue from Helen. And Carleen said big thanks to Bylaw Department for the response in Ward 5. Well done there. So congratulations to both of you. Councillor, any thoughts before we wrap this up?
Well, I just want to say I really appreciate the staff from the city. I appreciate my constituent and the general public for posing the question. I think if we don't have question, then we won't have an answer. And by having the question, at least they planted the seed when it's going to be done. Even if it's not on the list for some street, at least our city engineer is here, our CEO here as well. And they'll say, well, there is some complaint, let's look into it. So I just want to thank the general public for posing all the questions, my constituent and administration. Thank you very, very much for helping us out.
All right, excellent. Right on time. That concludes the first of our 10 ward meetings in 2021. I'd like to thank our Ward 5 residents for being here this evening, along with Mayor Dilkens, Councillor Sleiman, and our administrative team. The plan is to post this meeting to our YouTube channel tomorrow, so if technology is with us, we will do that. As well, any questions that may come into mind later, as always, can be emailed to the ward councillor, in this case, Sleiman@citywindsor.ca or 311@citywindsor.ca. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you.